Hey guys, it's Kerry and the Joy Tribe.
Hello, I'm Tiffany.
Tiffany, Sara, Kerry,
Hi.
and we are doing a part two of a show that we did probably 2 or 3 weeks ago now,
Yep.
and all about triggers. And this is a really trying time. 2020 has been interesting to say the least. Um, and we have these things that pop up, these sometimes irrational fears or angry outbursts or sadness. And I mean, some of it could really be just the times that we're in, but sometimes when you try to trace it back, we can't always find the origin. And I'm gonna let Tiffany take it from here.
Well, and so we did a whole show with Sara Kajawar here, who's an amazing medium and does angel Reiki and healer, and Carrie Mena too, with all your shiny shows, sparkles.
Sparkles.
But we talked a lot how when we get together, Sara will say, "Well, you know what I'm getting is I'm seeing in another life that you guys had the similar conflict, or you role reversed, and that's how this played out, and that's contributing to this." And all the time in casual conversations, Sara's throwing this out. So we thought this would be fun to kind of open it up. And we invited some of our Joy Tribe friends to say, if you would like to participate, come join us and we'll just kind of sit and chat. So Sara and Kerry have not met our guest today, Terry, and
Guys.
been friends
Hi,
of the
Terry.
show for a long time. Hi, Terry.
Hi, Terry. Terry from
Terry from
Texas.
Texas. Terry's been a friend of the JoyRide show for a long time. He and his wife Michelle are just dear friends of ours, and he very bravely said yes, he would come on and just chat with us. We have no idea where this is going, but to hear what's going on with him, Sara's going to get her intuitive hits. We might do some tapping. Carrie sees patterns, and Carrie does her light language and healing energy.
I don't know
So
what I'm here for. I'm just here to be
comedic-
because we're all coming at it with our own special sauce, our own, and our own perspective to just have a conversation, see what kind of healing and insights come from it, and maybe it's of use to you too. So we're just gonna have fun today.
Yeah, like a healing package.
I think all of you guys rock. Your expertise, what you do, you're very good at it.
Well, you are too. You've had a rich, varied, interesting life. I know a little bit about your background, but we're gonna let you introduce yourself and kind of get into what's going on with you today that made you say, yeah, I think I've got some stuff that I would like to look at from different perspectives. And there's no judgment from any of us. There's no right or wrong. We're just see what this year 2020 is bringing up and how we can transform it.
And I have to say, I really, Terry, it is rare that we have the men folk on with us. I mean, we are the metaphysical moms, but we're not just the metaphysical moms, and we're the metaphysical group. And I just love that you're willing to do this. And because I know that you do come from a manly background and a very grounded background. So can we start there? You want to fill us in on you?
Yeah, it's this is a new thing for me. Basically, new to just disclosing to people what had happened to me, and I was in a professional occupation. I was a professional firefighter and paramedic for 30 years professional, and then 4 years of volunteer in a suburb in the Dallas County area.
Thank you for your service too. Yep.
Thank you. And, there was a lot of things that had transpired throughout my career, but mainly the events that had happened when I was a child was set all this in motion. And when I was watching your show last time, you guys was talking about past lives. And I was going to tell you last night when we were talking, and you said to save it for today. And this is kind of the piece that drove me to meet with you ladies. Is I used to have friends to come over, and we'd play army, 9, 10-year-old boys, and I always wanted to basically be the prisoner of war, and my hands were always tied behind my back. But okay, that's the physical aspect of it, but the mental aspect of it is that there was a super deja vu moment that came with that. And so all my whole life, I always wondered what that was about. And so I had mentioned it to my wife, Michelle, Yeah, she purchased a past life regression for me for Christmas, and I went to it. And of course, the lady that she was a QHHT with the Dolores Cannon train, and she just said, "Wow, this has blowed me away." I mean, you're male for one. I don't think she ever had a male client. And then on top of that, it was just it was an amazing reading, and I visited that POW.
Did you? Where were you?
It was a an island in the South Pacific,
Wow.
and unknown if it was Midway or where, but there was many islands involved. But I remember the sand, and I was in a cage and stuff, and it was some starvation, malnutrition that led to my passing. She would ask me those things, like what was, what happened. So that really interested me. And there was a couple of other lives that popped in, and it appeared that my mother in this current life was also a mother in one of the other lives too. That was interesting to me. And I was a female Indian, a Native American Indian, and I felt that was unique, to recall that. And so, that's what made me step up to the plate here with you ladies. Kerry had asked me, she gave me some homework when I talked to her by way of email about, maybe getting Sara to read me. I was just looking at the past lives, and she had asked me to drill down to a single question, and I would have to say that my issue in life, and has been forever, it's kind of like an abandonment or a rejection, if you will, of anything. Like if somebody didn't approve, there's this level of fear that comes in, like, oh, they don't want to be my friend, or something all the way to love in a marriage. So that has always been an issue, and it's always been kind of unique to me on why that is. As so the past lives that I had, I couldn't tie any of it together. So I'm wondering if there's something else there. So that's why I came in.
Do you see any correlation with being a prisoner of war and left to basically starve as abandonment and rejection? I mean, I can definitely see where that's a facet.
I could see how, when I was, when you regress back, it's like I literally could feel the temperature of the day.
Yeah.
I mean, I went back to, it was as real as this
Yeah.
real that I'm at right now. And there was a fear. I knew that my parents were worried about their young person being in such a situation, and it still, I couldn't connect to how it was today. It made me feel so.
Still the same though. That's fine.
Right. So if you could clear obstacles right now that you feel are holding you back on a path right now. So the reason I say right now is that usually things come up that are ready to be cleared. Like they kind of come up so that you can sieve them away. So you can.
Well, I mean, simply said, it would be just to accept myself and not have to have somebody else to validate me. Yeah, good.
All different things. I'm getting all different things, and plus all the beautiful lives that you regressed into. So, and this current life that many of us experienced in our youth, is we lived a very conditional life. We were expecting certain grades, certain things from us externally. So we are all in a pattern, all of us on the planet right now, to break these patterns of conditional love and to be able to accept and not judge another. As you feel the separation on the planet, especially in the US right now, but we need to go through that division, and then it comes up to the surface. I call it like the spaghetti sauce on the back burner, and it's pouring all over. So we're cleaning it all up so we can help heal the planet in that way. So all of us, things are rising and coming to the forefront our awareness purposely,
Mhm.
so we can connect those dots, put those puzzle pieces together, and in turn, we're already whole, but we don't feel whole because we've always wanted validation or the external, validation of, like, for instance, you being in service in this lifetime, you were in service in many lifetimes. So that being in service, that's external validation that you're doing something for others versus putting yourself first.
Yeah, I was always a person that reached out and wanted to nurture and give, and in order to, but it had a price that came with it. I expected to be accepted.
Exactly, and that's
It's like, well, I went the extra mile for you, so you be a part of my life now.
Conditions.
yes.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
and that is coming to the forefront for many right now. And it's
Mhm.
beautiful that you're coming on the show today to express this because
Mhm.
everyone's going to be able to relate and say, oh, wait a minute. Who am I? I am in a place of 2020. I'm trying to figure out who I am, and I need to put myself first.
I would love to erase that feeling.
Yes. So that's where we're at. And everyone, because we're being guided by society. So we got to let go of society and focus inward on ourselves,
Mhm.
where we already are whole. We were already whole in those other lives too. But these things are coming up, so we can kind of like, oh, that's why I feel this way, connected to this, connected to that. So you can kind of pull it in and integrate. So I see where you've been in service. You also were also, this looks like Civil War time. You were like a medic, like Civil War time.
Really?
So people relied on you to get, I mean, you didn't have really any source to really help them, right? It was life or death situation every given minute. So it was very stressful life that you were very proud. So the first thing I got today was the American flag. So this is something you're always honoring. See, that's the loyalty because we feel validated, when we do something right that's important for our country, which is
Right.
beautiful. But now it's times like, I need inward time. I need to reflect.
Mm.
I am whole no matter what. I don't need fixing. I just need to feel the completeness of who I am.
Yeah, the thought of inward time is very inviting.
Because you have abilities that are opening up.
Mm-hmm.
You have abilities that are opening up. That's our insecurities that all of us here have felt.
Mhm.
We've all felt that in our life. And so we're trying to like process it. And us working together, it helps heal each other right here too.
Mm-hmm.
Because we get little epiphanies and aha moments and go, oh, that's where that comes from. So even like the Indian life, what I'm getting with this, you said Indian woman, correct? Young woman?
Right? Mhm.
Your path was already chosen by the family because you were a woman.
Yeah, it kind of seemed like that. I had a general knowledge of that. Mhm.
Mm-hmm. So see, you didn't get to make the life choices like you got to make in this life. So you can
Right.
see how you're spiraling outward, even though it's all going on at the same time, which is beautiful. But you didn't have those choices on who you were going to marry. You had to be more submissive, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because you couldn't shame your tribe.
Mhm.
All of that.
I specifically remember looking to my left and seeing the face of, and I remember telling the lady that I can't use the word husband in a traditional sense. It was a person that accepted me or won me or asked for me, and I was loyal, just like you said. And I just remember feeling very comfortable with that protection,
Yes.
and so I just moved on from there.
So look at this. You've got your tribe from being in the fire department. You've got your
Mhm.
camaraderie. So it seems like in every lifetime you've got that camaraderie, wartime.
Yeah, it was very important.
See, where now we're like, what's going to happen in 2021? What's going on?
Mhm.
But how interesting, though, that the same thing that brings you comfort is actually the thing you're trying to break away from. So if being told in the safety of the group, when you're accepted by the group, you that brings peace. But now it feels like you're pulling away from the group, and in this lifetime you have that. Well, but he also has the courage to do it because I don't want to tell you too much right now because I know you're still getting things. But I find that interesting. Do you see what I'm saying? That it's
Yes, I do.
We're here to
to let go of the control that external sources have on us. And like Sara said, we're all doing it in our own ways, in a collective way to get rid of it as a planet, but we all do it in our individual ways. And if you know anything about me, I like to make it all about me. And I'm doing the same thing right now. I'm sitting here, I'm looking at a mirror, and I'm trying to make myself as tiny as possible, because the external belief that little is good and big is bad weighs so heavy on me. So once I let go of that external message, then I can be comfortable and happy with myself. I don't need to have praise and validation or anything else from something outside of me, because I'm trying to learn to just love me as I am, no matter what shape or size, no matter what I do for somebody, no matter what I don't do for anybody. And as long as you're in a place of being pure of heart, you won't make a wrong decision. If you're not out to hurt somebody or be vindictive, what I'm trying to get at is taking care of you is not selfish. It's
self-love.
Yes.
Oh goodness! Every time I've tried to do any self-love, in fact, when I say that word self-love, I can feel a little emotion kind of come up. It just seems so selfish and so wrong,
doesn't it? And you have to get past that, because you can't. I mean, it's cheesy, it's corny. We see it on the internet, but you got to fill up your own cup first. And then when you're full of your own self-love, then you can give to others. Otherwise, you're just
mask on first.
I believe that's the single most challenging event probably for me to come into this world is self-love and acceptance, because I'm looking to others to validate me. Good,
Yes.
with Joyce, where will I go?
yes.
And you're speaking.
And
Yeah.
when I seeked out Tiffany's help through tapping, because I had unresolved grief over the loss of my puppy dog. She was an adult dog, but she died. I was extremely just melting down, and I'm still embarrassed by my emotions, Tiffany. It's just, the mother of all floodgates opened that day. It was raw.
It was real and it was powerful, but there's absolutely nothing to be embarrassed about. And I'm honored and so proud of you to actually feel them, communicate them, share them. And this is all part of your healing journey.
I thought it was just the dog, but you went right past it, and you really nailed the source. And so my dad rejected me as a child because I had extreme autistic behaviors as a child. I was a chronic bedwetter, couldn't speak. I was unintelligible. And my father actually told me things like, and I don't want to put him in a bad light. He was a good man, but he was immature and didn't know how to handle somebody like me. My mother was just gold. I had the greatest mom on the planet. But basically, he said, just go away. Don't bother me until you learn to talk. And then he would tell me things like, that I was nasty for, wetting the bed. That's hard to say here on live, or, was to be seen by everybody, but it's the truth. And so I dealt with that. So you went right there. You knew it wasn't the dog. and I said, wow, you're just a master at what you do. Because I've worked with that,
But the dog was there to be your teacher, to help you feel that and to know that and because dogs are so I think this is one of your themes so like when you're a prisoner of war, you're completely isolated from that external validation. When now that you've retired, and I know stepping into this metaphysical world has taken you out of your group and the validation, and it's a totally separate. These are just themes that are running through, and your dad played his part very well by not giving that to you in the beginning. For you to say, I can see how debilitating that belief is, and then to learn it and love it and embody it and appreciate it so much more because you've known the opposite is part of your journey here.
I remember wanting my dad's approval so much. I was an overachiever and everything. I just wanted him to put his hand around me, his arm around me, and say, "Man, you're a good guy," But that didn't happen until later in life, and you become a meeker, milder person. But interesting though, through mediumship, I've had quite a bit of contact with my father.
Good.
And he is my biggest advocate on the other side, believe it or not.
It was just a
Yeah.
role we played.
We trust those we love the most to break us here in our human existence. So on the flip side, these people that are beating you down are the ones that love you, because it is a gift.
Yeah, I can see that.
Dean, the bag.
Well, what a terrible role he agreed to play.
My mom, yeah.
Right.
I feel it was a true sacrifice, and I believe that most of her shitty life was for my benefit, not just hers, but for me. So I can.
I've read. I'm basically a self-proclaimed NDE researcher because I had an experience when I was a child. I felt like I'd quit breathing, and so I've always had this, I guess, unique. Or not unique to me, I suppose, the metaphysical wonderment of my reality here. Because when I was in this area, I know that, I tried to look down on myself. I was just a thinking and intellectual ball of energy. I was just this point of awareness. And I was looking at the most beautiful, it does not even compare to this reality.
Yeah.
It is more real than, this is like a bad dream, really.
Exactly.
And so I would be in the 5th grade looking out the window, and I'd put myself up on a limb in a tree.
You were?
I would, just go because I didn't want to be in this place, And that was it caused a lot of problems. My school teachers would, my mother was threatened to be put on the payroll. She was up there so much. But, I had that event. And then I had another OBE where there was some neighborhood bullies. They were a kid on each side of me holding my arms, and one was punching me in the stomach. And so I just left, and I'm up here. I could literally go back to that old neighborhood and go up in a bucket truck and get the angle. I remembered it like it was done yesterday. And I seen my mother run out of the house and rescue me.
I don't think that's unusual, especially when we're little and we're faced with some trauma or something we can't process, we can't analyze. We will leave. It's almost like we fragment off because we don't know the intensity of the situation. And so part of tapping is we go back and we teach you how to feel what you're feeling, whether it's the shock or the pain or the disbelief. Just feel it and let it pass, and sort of reintegrate that so that your body doesn't want to keep escaping these situations. And we're not trying to, make you endure all the suffering. We're trying to face it, embrace it, and let it pass, like transform it so that you're
I will say, I think tapping is effective, and I understand the process behind it, but that has to be one of the toughest things about that form of self-care and help is I just as well sweep it under the rug, all those bad emotions. But I know my intellect tells me that there's no way out of it but through it.
But this lingering sort of, I'm not accepted, I feel abandoned feeling. My theory is that that's you, that's the abandonment that you did for yourself to save yourself in those early situations where you literally separated from yourself. That's maybe part of the abandonment you're feeling. And by us going in and loving and empowering and reclaiming those aspects, that's where you say, I love myself through all of this. And look how amazing I've done. And look how of service I've been, even with all of this pain and trauma. I'm freaking amazing. And there's nothing that we leave out. No man left behind. No part of Terry left behind. That unconditional love for yourself. That's been my personal journey, to go and reclaim all those parts that I would just much rather not look at or deal with, or I was embarrassed or ashamed, the bedwetting, whatever, none of that. We're all parents.
Yeah, there was a lot of shame that came with that, and nonverbal. But I hear what you're saying, and I just get this warmth in my heart. I'm like, she's nailed it. You know, it's self-love. That's what it's about, and acceptance of all those things. But speaking of being a male, I'm getting the corners of my male card cut off. It's
That's called balance.
Once again, you know, there's that acceptance. You know, when guys get around, you know, talk fire. Yeah, I run into a building. It was flames everywhere, and you know, there's that bravado going on. Crack a beer. But, you know, it's like I can't start a subject up. You know, it's like, guys, I'm practicing self-love. I'm hugging myself all the time. And they're like, what? So, you know, it's tough.
A whole
But
level of bravery right there.
I was about to say, you not only have your man card, you have a super-size, life-size man card that you use growing. And not only have you run into the burning buildings, but you are also hugging and loving yourself. And what a duality. The healed male and the healed female version of you together is a potent combination.
I remember I saw this friend of mine had this book. This is years ago. And I was like, she is really attractive, this woman on the front of the book. And she said, no, that's a man. And it was Yogananda. And it was because balance, that female male balance, which that's actually where we are. We're trying to balance those two. So you're just ahead of the curve here, showing people how it's done. And I want to say that I think you're getting more things.
I'm getting all kinds of things.
Okay, come on in.
So that's where I'm at. So being vulnerable is if the vulnerability is that process where we can release the abandonment, anything that you feel a fear of, that's where we grow. And that's the hard part. It's like stepping out into the grass, the unknown section. So that's when you feel that, just know I have growth coming. That's where I'm feeling vulnerable and I'm feeling nervous and I'm unsure.
You embrace that.
What I was going to say, what you just said right there started raising my heart rate. I started feeling this pounding.
Okay, then we're going to tap.
She started saying, you know,
like for me,
resolve that.
The difficult part in the beginning of my journey was being able to look in the mirror and say, I love you. And that was tapping and repeatedly over and over in the mirror. So I'm looking at myself and not dodging to the right or left or looking down. It was a hard process. And it still can be difficult.
I got to do that shit naked.
And naked.
That's what I'm doing right now, for reals.
So it's really getting in there, and it brings up those triggers or just those feelings or emotions from childhood or from another life that it was reinforced. So it's kind of, once you have the awareness of it, it kind of just settles down and eases. But I see what you went through with your father, you know, in childhood. Think of that, how you were helping progress the planet. And by you telling the story today too, but because there's so many that can relate to this, that we have to go through the experiences so we can learn. So you just signed up and said, I'll be a part of this. These are things I want.
I'll run into the building.
Soul agreement with my dad, you know? And now it's at the point of like, okay, like with your boys, you know, at the station, it's kind of the same thing. You're like, okay, I'm raising my hand because I've got to show it's okay to have more of the feminine emotional side and be true to myself. This is where I'm at. So you're another warrior and
torchbearer.
I had to keep a lot to myself because I was captain, you know, of my platoon basically, and so you know they didn't want a sensitive, you know, captain to lead them into a situation.
Well,
that's what's changing, because now they need to around the planet where it's not traditional healing methods to help with PTSD.
Right.
We need to have all different avenues to help bring it all together. Obviously, or we wouldn't be having so many issues with, you know, drugs, alcohol, etc.
Right.
So think of you as you're coming into your own abilities more and more, and it feels vulnerable. It feels very scary. We've all been through it. It's just part of it, and you've got a great.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's really, and like Tiffany said, I guess when I feel those emotions, I really should take an opportunity to tap out of that.
Yes, that's the healing moment.
I mean, that's the recognizing that.
That energy.
So when you get that warm glow of, oh my gosh, that feels right, that feels true, that feels like that's what's pulling me forward, trust that. And then when you get that kind of cringy feeling from the guys going, well, you're not man enough if you're if you kind of get that cringy, like, woo,
What did I say?
I don't want to do that because it's going to, just trust those feelings. And this is your journey. And they may be playing their part very well for you to be that sort of society pro. Men don't cry, men don't show emotions. But the leading cause of illness in men is heart disease, stress related, because they're not paying attention to any of this stuff. And if they would
swallow it,
if it was more socially acceptable to do this kind of stuff, therapy, tapping, whatever it is that gets you there, you can be the example of, this is how I do it. And I'm still a man, and I'm still a husband, and I still am everything I was, and running into burning buildings, and I'm taking care of myself.
And that really matters. You're not here to help other people. You're here to help you. Like we just said.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah. It's under the guise maybe, but really I'm doing it for myself.
But however, having said that, you're going to be such an inspiration, because even though people may not be able to identify with your exact story, I find that with me, that people just appreciate my authenticity, and that gives them courage to be able to share their story too. Exactly. So your ripple effects of being here, talking about, your hurts or whatever, will reach out to other people, whether or not your story is directly relevant or not to them.
And I guarantee you're going to have other people open up to you. The more you open, people that you love and adore, they're going to go like, oh, I had this weird experience.
It already happens to him.
Yeah. I shared something with Kerry yesterday.
Your soul's calling.
It's a vibration that you're sending out and attracting others towards.
When you're scared, that's just your limitations you're putting on yourself.
Or you're breaking through that.
Or break through the wall.
Yes. Embrace that fear.
So that's where the occurs, is outside the comfort zone.
I was actually questioned by some of my very close, dear friends that I've known since I was a small child. And I've kind of, just not been rejected from them, but basically says, I don't believe that stuff, And so it's been, I've kind of suffered a loss of that. But what I want to do is probably just redefine what our relationship is now.
There you go.
But I'd like to say something to that, because I feel there have been people in my life, and I look at, there are few that come and they stay, very, very few. And I feel like we're at a bus stop, and some people get on the bus and they go with me. Some people get on a bus and they go over there, and the door's always open. The bus is always there. We all have the bus pass, but you will vibrate out of certain people, and it's not a bad thing.
That is for sure.
They won't, it's not that you're here and they're there. I mean, there's no, it's just different. And once I let go of what was supposed to be, my tribe came and they showed up, and but I had to let go. I mean, I was defining myself by what kind of car I drove and whether or not I was thin enough. I mean, stupid stuff. And once I let all that go, my people showed up, my people showed up, you too. And so I think that it's and it's easy. I live in a big town. I live in a big place, and I know you live in a small town, but still it'll be interesting to see where you are this time next year.
Right.
And you're still going to have your online groups that you join, and that's where you're going to feel more comfort there. It's still for you to step out of your comfort zone.
Right.
To whatever degree you want. Whatever degree you want. But you'll see, then you're going to start opening up more and more and understanding. And it's going to be exciting.
And
really exciting.
I just got something for you that it's like you're at a crossroad, not really, but sort of. And when you say yes, in whatever way you decide, it's always your choice. This whole other road opens up. This whole other path will expose itself. And it is truly one stone at a time. And you're kind of going, okay, I'm looking at these different stones that lead to different on different paths. And they will each lead you somewhere great. But there is one that is your highest joy. And the other ones are joy. But there's a highest joy, and it's like, if you pick that, and it really just is you stepping into you, it'll be fun to see where
yeah, definitely. It feels very alone right now, by the way. but I'm open, you know. But you know, I was going to share that now, since I know that there's a greater reality, we do not die. We're spiritual beings. You know, I can't unlearn that, or it's an awareness, it's awakening that I cannot undo. So I just, you know, I want to share it. I told Michelle I wanted to shout it from rooftops. I was really excited about being able to just talk to you guys and just, you know, express that. Because she gets tired during coffee. She's heard all my stories about 300 times.
Well, we're in a near-death experience group together again too, and I know you share some great stories, and I learned so much from those, you know, people who have just incredible epiphanies. And so I know you've had your own, and even
Right.
to a lot of cool people through that.
Right.
So I know that you found some tribes, right? Speaking.
Yeah, I did. You know, I let some problems get to the best of me that was within that, and I wasn't really jiving with it real good. So I don't know if you know it, but I closed that group down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I might see that it's a mistake in hindsight, but I've just been really busy and didn't really have time for it. But
so on your place there, because I know you guys just built
yeah,
out in the country. It's beautiful.
I'm still working on it. I'm still out there building a fence and stuff, you know. So
you're creating your beautiful reality right there.
Right.
As he said last night, it's like I hope this is okay to share. Because I'm gonna no. You would love to just stay in that high vibrating place and the other side, but you're like, but I have to go dig a fence post, you know.
Right.
And I gotta go be a damn human. Hang on.
But
right, exactly. The chop wood, carry water thing, and that was mentioned. You know, that's Betty Eady. I couldn't remember her name, but Embraced by the Light, she coined that term. But chop wood, carry water. So that's what I have to do. And that 1 foot over there and 1 foot in this reality. I mean, I'm not good at doing the splits, and I feel like I'm just being ripped. You know,
integrate them both.
Yeah, integrate. It's that total paradox of holding both at the same time, because we used to ping ponging. I'm over here and then I'm over here, and that really gets exhausting, this ping ponging. And now I feel more like I have an awareness of both simultaneously, and not always, but that feels way more centered and
feels more.
You know what? A good description is the pendulum. You're way over here, then you're way over here.
Right.
Eventually, that pendulum's going to come right here, and you're going to be an integrated being.
Yeah, integrate.
I can see that.
Yep.
Yeah, pendulum is a good description.
But you do that though. I mean, he was telling me last night he'll be in a place, he'll be at work, or he'll be in a place, and someone was like, oh, I can't wait to tell you, and they'll tell him some incredible story, and he says, yep. It's like validation, and especially coming from you, because you are this manly man and captain and all this stuff. I mean, you have no idea, I think, your effect you have when you validate and say, yes, that is exactly right. And it'll be fun to watch you say, yes, and I'm getting this, because I think that's what's coming up for you.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're the captain of your own tribe is what you are. You know, an expanded tribe.
Right.
You're listening to others, you're validating for them, so they will have their own spiritual growth. Right. Because you're a safe place. Yeah.
And respect a place.
And, you know, it's just been recently that I've really accepted the fact that it is a spiritual journey instead of,
we're in spirit.
you know, a human journey. It's not a human journey at all. We just use this as a vehicle. And
and some people, aren't they just so creative with their paths? I just love thinking about that, with their soul selves were sitting at that table. Well, I'm going to try a little of this and a little of that.
Right.
Buffet.
It is a buffet. So are you getting anything else?
I had all kinds of things. So there's something regarding too, if you've noticed all these, it's fun to kind of like connect those little dots. So if you look at all your past lives, this current life, look at the footwear that you had in many of these lives. Just funny little things like that. And it helps. Then you'll correlate and you'll grow and you'll think of something else.
Wait, footwear?
Footwear, from boots.
Like moccasins.
Work boots.
Or lack of footwear. I remember being barefooted.
Firemen.
In Civil War.
And then, of course, when you were in the POW camp too, you were living completely in complete
Combat
fear.
boots. Yeah.
You were in combat boots, probably then taken away, probably.
Yeah, I was barefooted. Yeah.
So taken away, but you were, of course, very vulnerable. Complete surrender at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
I was telling.
Experiences in that way when you were a prisoner. You had to survive it.
Right.
Had to
leave your body.
Something to do with the footwear. There's something there, and I don't know. Start connecting those dots with the footwear and the lives that how like maybe it's not you're not like running around in burqas or something, you know,
Right.
That's not traditional. But you can see all these little patterns that are like, why am I choosing this kind of footwear when I don't need to wear it?
Right.
Okay. But it's fun because then it connects you to something else, types of foods. Okay. So that fight or flight.
Did you say food?
Foods.
Food. Okay.
It'll take you to different lives too, and say, "Well, I wonder why," because we didn't have this growing up. Why?
That brings up a point I shared with Kari last night that all three of those lives there was a malnutrition. You know, you don't necessarily have to starve to death from a lack of sustenance. It's sometimes it's not good for you. Like I was a Spanish sailor on an old Spanish galleon ship coming across the Atlantic, exploring the world. But I was starving because, scurvy is a lack of vitamin C, so, there was an illness that came from a lack of the proper nutrition. And of course, POWs, they were starved down to nothing. And, even the Indian lady, there was sometimes famine that they weren't. So I shared with Kerry this. I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Problems in this life?
I'm sorry?
Any mouth issues or dental problems in this life?
No, none.
So,
okay, tell her what you're about to say. I know where you're going.
That with all of those lives being a malnutrition or a starving issue, food, this now in this life, a land of plenty, I'm a diabetic. And so it's the opposite. Food is actually killing me now, technically. I mean, I don't want to sound that graphic about it, but it is, and I'm even on insulin now.
So you can look at that and you can look at the parallels. You can look at the differences because I see a lot of lives where you have a lot of dental pain, like TMJ, jaw, lots of issues and a lot of lives.
Well, okay. So is that what you're talking about? I was just thinking, I had good genes. My grandmother never had any cavities. So I'm 59 and I've never had a cavity, but, I've got wisdom teeth issues and TMJ.
Okay, there you go.
I pop with TMJ, and when I was young, it was debilitating. I couldn't even chew because of it. But if that's what you was referring to,
and of course tension when we, because we probably grind our teeth on top of that. But yes,
right.
Sometimes you see those threads and you can connect. So it's like when we look at our family and we'll go, look at all of us have blue eyes in the family, and then there's the one who has, brown eyes. And you're like, well, where'd that come from?
No, man.
So, but that's kind of when you connect those dots, it helps you feel more at ease and more at peace.
Mm-hmm.
So I have these mouth issues, stems from a lot of tension too.
Every time I go to the dentist, he says, "Man, you're a grinder."
A grinder.
You're a grinder, yeah. That's the tension.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I just thought it was stress from being in the fire department, and
and that's how you're trying to release it.
It might be that might be how your this life, how it plugs into this life is the stress of being a firefighter. Whatever life you choose to have this time around, you can plug it in. So, and when you said about always like starving and being malnourished, I did the same thing in past lives. I was like, well, my client would bring me a loaf of bread to sustain me. So not this time. This time I am the opposite, and I got insulin issues too. I think that's just our soul self, not quite. People might call it karma, but I think it's just for us, our souls to, the pendulum, to experience both sides of the same coin.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I think because for us in humanity to heal, we need to be more compassionate. But first we have to have self-compassion. So we have to have these experiences under our belt. So we recognize these deja vu moments, other lives, other things. And then it kind of like, oh, I remember that feeling. So now you can help others based on all your experiences, not just in this life. That's the cool part. So being more compassionate is where this planet is leading. It needs to go that way.
I agree 100%.
Whatever healing you do in this life carries over to the other lives too.
Because it's all going on.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and Louise Hay and Heal Your Body, Heal Your Life. Diabetes is about a lack of sweetness in your life. So you seem very sweet to us. I don't know, but how over your life, how sweet you are to yourself, how sweet you feel life is.
That's a good point.
Well, if you ask my wife, she would say I'm not real sweet to myself.
Right. You're very sweet to her. We've seen you in person.
That
Very
resonates with
loving
me too,
and
Tiffany.
caring, but being sweet to yourself is
So
an emotional component of diabetes.
once again, when you guys go towards self-love, self-acceptance, self-care, you know, it's boom. Yeah,
That's why we're here.
Can we
That's
tap
why
on
we
some
come.
more of that for you? Can we do some more like that guard that goes straight up, like I can't possibly, or there's too much water under the bridge, or whatever that feeling is that comes up for you is like, if you knew me, you would not love me. Whatever that feeling is.
That's just, that's a good descriptive term. It's just like it just flies up in my face.
Well, I would love to tap with you, and I won't take the time to do it here, but I would love to tap with you on that again. And maybe we can do a follow-up and just see what's there. And sometimes a past life will pop up, or it's just the way your energy chose to protect you is to be like, nope, can't do it. And it's a knee-jerk reaction. And logically, you're like, but I know that's where I'm going. I know that's what feels good when I talk about going there, but whoop. So
I would definitely be willing to visit that, because anything that I can resolve is just baggage that I can let go of completely.
We not only let go, we don't attack it or diminish it or stomp it, or we actually integrate it with love.
Okay.
Because that's your power. It's very powerful. There's a lot of energy and emotion in there, and that's yours. We don't want to get rid of it. It's exquisite stuff.
Instead of dropping it off, keep it with you.
Transform it.
You spin it. I call it spinning it.
Yeah, but we transform it like a carbon, like, carbon under pressure becomes a diamond. It becomes your most precious thing because it's part of who makes you uniquely you, the experiences that you've set up for yourself here. So there's nothing that we want to get rid of, but we can transform it and make it mean something else to you. And since it's right there, it's very powerful. It's just worth exploring with love and curiosity to see what we can shift.
So when I tapped with Tiff at the very beginning, and I didn't, she didn't know me well, I didn't know her well, that was something that came up. And I was a hot mess in my 20s, and I was so ashamed of her and her behavior and just the cluelessness. And as I'm listening to you, so you're sharing your story with us, and as I'm listening to you, I remember James Van Praagh saying, you need to be in your body. And I realized, same thing, I pop out. But I never knew I was doing it. I would go somewhere else, and people would say, where did you go? You were just right here. Where did you go? I'm gone. I'm at the beach, but as I'm listening to you, so thank you for pointing that out. I remember Tiffany showing me a different angle of who I was at that time. And I do love her. And she was quirky and funny and a hot mess. Didn't really know what you're getting. And I went back and loved her as this person, Kari, now. I went back and I loved her and it just makes me crazy to think that I was so critical and judgmental, and I'm sure I still am. I know I need to do work around that of myself, yet someone else could do the same thing. And I would say, oh, you know what? Let it go. Why are we so double standard with ourselves?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
I kept looking at all these people going, that girl's chubby, but she's cute. That girl's chubby, she's just fine. I'll look at myself, and it is the most hideous thing ever. We don't cut the same slack and have the same forgiveness for ourselves that we do for others. What is that?
Right. I don't know.
Well, as my husband always says, this is a movie. I have a movie going on, and it stars me, and you guys are in my movie. You have a movie going on and it stars you. I don't know I don't know where I'm going
No,
with that.
that's great because we're all, our minds are projector.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know the love that you have for your sweet puppy?
Mhm.
Unconditional, everlasting. It includes all the mistakes and the messes or whatever. Can you feel that love like when you think of your dog?
Oh, absolutely. I can attach to it real well.
Okay. That's the kind of love that we are looking for yourself. A lot of people feel
Okay, I got a long way to go, Tiffany.
okay, but that's that. I want you to know the potential of that falling in love with yourself to the degree that you loved and accepted and cared for your dog.
Mhm.
That is calling you to do that for yourself and for your fellow man. You already do, but to do that.
That is an important goal for
Yeah.
sure.
And I'm a big sorry, I'm gonna cut you off. The Course in Miracles, a big student of the Course in Miracles. And
Yeah, it's an interesting subject.
there's a line in there that always just jumped out of the page at me, and it's that all your thoughts should be wholly joyous. And if you have a thought that's not wholly joyous, know that you do not need to choose that. And that was just like a lightning bolt. And like, we have the potential to be wholly joyous as humans, really, in this hot mess that we are and that we live. And that if we don't choose that, it's not a sin. We've just made a mistake in our perception of it. And that
You said do not choose that, or we should not choose it?
we don't have to, and that
Oh, as a choice.
it's a choice. And so it says there's just thousands of scraps of fear that block us from our light. It's not one big thing. It's just lots of these little bitty
Shards almost.
crap
Layers,
things that we've
peeling
picked up along the way. And to me, tapping helps me go one by one. It's like taking a Post-it note off of my internal lighthouse. I just like, what is
Good
that? I
metaphor.
don't even need that scrap of
Yeah.
fear anymore. And that's the journey toward this self-love, the self-acceptance. It's not one big thing. And let's have fun with it, not make it hard or a long, arduous journey.
Practice.
Let's go, wow, look at that little scrap of fear. And I can see it where everybody else is choosing that same scrap of fear. Let's get that out of here.
I tend to stay real serious all the time about stuff like that, but having fun with it would be important.
Have fun. And
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Number one for me.
Play,
let's play with this.
as Ashley used to say. Don't try to do this and try to do that. Just go play with it.
We're programmed to have to do the work and do it a certain way.
And a goal
it
oriented.
doesn't
Yeah.
work.
And right when you get there, guess what? Something else is going to pop up. And then right when you get there and you just keep,
Yep.
yeah,
Keep
we're
spiraling.
human. I don't think this
Spiraling
journey
up
will
and
ever end and we will never get there, because or else we wouldn't be here. But the process, the journey, the self-discovery, this aha, this deliciousness that we when we feel that remembering, that rejoining is why we're here. For us to discover it all over again. We already are it, but we're like played this huge game of hide and seek with ourselves, and we're discovering it all over again.
Well, I may be actually, you kind of stole some of my thunder there about saying that we will continue to keep going.
Yeah.
Because Kerry had given me homework, as I said, and she said, what was my question? And I thought really intensely about it. And I said, my one drill down question would be, how much longer do I have to go through this bullshit before I get out?
The ego question, and that's the one that my guides worked very hard to break me of, is the when. There is no when. You're going to get there when you get there. So get that question right out of your head.
Yeah, so that, Tiffany squashed that a while ago. Do I just toughen up and get ready for a lot more? Because to me, I look at the carrot being dangled. There's got to be an end.
No, there's not an end goal.
You'll feel like you're surfing more.
Okay.
You won't. Yeah.
So let's just, I'm going to put this a different way. I want to frame this in a different way. Let's say that we decide we're going to start working out. You and I can go for a run and we can count calories and we can do all this stuff, which feels like work, right? But the end goal is that you're in shape, but you hate every minute. Or we can call you and say, hey, Terry, come over. We're going to put some music on and we're going to dance and we're going to laugh. And I mean, it's
burn the same amount of
it's
calories.
the same thing.
Yeah.
So and it's like you can play with it and have fun with it and just see it and say, dude, where did that thought come from? Let's see if I can go find it and go in and make it a fun journey versus this feels like shit. I feel heavy. No one wants to be around me. It's like you're flipping it to, I kind of rock. I mean, this is kind of fun and it's internal work and it sometimes stuff comes up and that's when you call one of us and or your lovely wife who is amazing and gets you, but this is it really becomes joyous at some point. As Tiff used to say, it's like you're cutting off these corks, right? Or the bobbers.
They say Abraham Hicks, Esther says this. She's like, you don't have to work hard to get your cork to float. You just have to cut the weight. You are naturally buoyant. And we came here with all this weight to feel. What would it feel like to not be buoyant? Oh my gosh, what a concept is in spirit. And so we're just learning to cut the cork, cut the weight. So we bob.
But I gotta go with, I gotta go with you, Terry, because sometimes you can try to make things fun, but there's no escaping the work sometimes.
Yeah.
And there are
No,
shitty
absolutely.
days.
There are.
And it is going to hurt. But remember that hurt is actually the healing. And I kind of describe like if you like get a cut or a wound, when that scabs over, it's healing, but it still hurts and it's still tender. So that's the healing. Your tears and your pain are the healing. Just stay the course or get through that, and then you will be lighter. Once your dust settles, everything is always better than what it was before that meltdown or surrender.
I believe that. I agree.
Go back into it, like with me, with my son's passing, it's all still there, but when I go into it, it's not I don't fall into it deep.
Yeah.
I stay above it where I can connect with them. So it just changes because you're in a different vibration.
Yeah, like you said, she's living a spiritual life. Her soul self set this up for a reason. To stay in a place of victimhood won't serve her path.
It doesn't serve anybody really.
Yeah, so if you see it from an expanded place and your earth place, then you can, why did I choose to have this experience? I'm going to figure this out so I can move past it, and the universe will no longer present that particular lesson to me again.
You know what I find interesting though, is that sometimes this humanness, like it kicks in and we don't even okay. So I was at a funeral and I'm looking around and I'm able to stay up here, and I felt myself kind of bogging down and putting myself in the wife's shoes. This man had passed away with a young son. And I was like, what am I doing? He's right there. He's right there. And I need to come up. But it's like the human side, you still need to, and sometimes I think, okay, I need to cry because otherwise I look like a heart of stone. And it's not, it's just that I know there's more happening. So it's this weird juxtaposition between being human. Sometimes it's like the filter of being human pulls us into that. And then we have to remember to say, you know what, let's go over there. Not because we're putting our head in the sand and we don't want to feel sadness. That's not it. It's just you have a bigger perspective.
Viewpoint. I had a friend that hung herself a couple years ago. And my thought was, oh, I hate to be insensitive, but I said, oh, good for her. Because I know that her life was hell. And I had that expanded viewpoint. So I felt very sad for her family members. You really can't tell very many people that, but knowing where I was coming from, I knew she had finally found peace. So I was kind of a morbid example, but I
mean, but like how do you present to the people that are just tragically lost?
That you mean like well, I wouldn't say anything, but if they had chosen, or any kind of tragedy, I just use that because that was my personal one, but anybody who's just say your body's riddled with an illness and they cross over, I would be like, oh, good for them because they're out of that pain. Yeah. That would be my personal thoughts inside my head. I'm not so sure I would express that to people that don't have that same expanded viewpoint.
So Terry, I got a question for you. If you could wave a magic wand and imagine what it might feel like to have this self-love, this acceptance, this inclusion, this tribe, what do you imagine that would feel like?
Good question.
Well, it very simply, just like you said a while ago, can I attach to the feeling of the love I have for my puppy? And
yeah.
I can just look at her and I smile on the inside.
Right.
Okay? So it would be something very similar.
And what would you be up to in your day? What would you What would your heart want you to be up to during the day if you felt that often as your kind of dominant energy? What would you be like? What would you be doing?
Well, I tell you that when you ask that question, my thought is that it's almost fearful to think about that level. That, I mean, caring and loving yourself is something that's so foreign to me. I'm almost fearful of it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's hard to describe that.
Yeah, but it's exhausting to keep that level of fear up. What would we experimented and said, what if I gave myself permission for 24 hours to feel this love? Every time I think of my dog, I just warm on the inside. I'm smiling. What would my day look like if I really let myself feel that? How would I take care of myself? What would maybe you wouldn't do anything different. You would still eat. You'd still.
No, I would just be, I guess, joyful. I would be choosing joy in everything that I did.
Can you think of any reason not to do that? Is there any catastrophic situation that would happen if you didn't choose that?
No, that there's no excuse for not doing so.
Wouldn't that be fun to just do an experiment and try it? And once you now you understand that higher spiritual perspective, you're like, I can't imagine knowing that. Being
my own worst enemy, I try to tell myself that I'm not worthy to love that much, you know.
And you can always pick it back up again. If feeling that joyous sucks, you can always pick up this not worthiness again. So that's an option, right?
Right.
So let's experiment. This is your homework for 24 hours.
Homework, okay.
Connect with that joyous. You've already got it. Your dog giving you permission to feel it, but it's your vibration that you own, that you feel, that you embody. And that physical experience with her has helped you open that, but it's right there. You just have to think about it and poof, there it is. What if that became your place of like, yes, this is who I truly am.
And one more thing, you will bounce back. I mean, you will, because that is your state. Like your state has become this self-critical. So that's what you're trying to let go. So you will be pulled back in. And Tiffany did this once, and I love this. She did it with a sparkle, which you may not do, but take a Sharpie pen and mark your hand or mark your finger or something. So every time you see that, you remember, oh, joy, I need to go back there.
Yeah. Like a ring on your finger or a little rubber band. Yeah, something to just constantly remind you, or Post-it notes, put pictures of her around and like, that's right. She's my joy. That energy of joy is mine. It's in me. I don't have to do anything to deserve it. I don't have to pay for it. I don't
become the puppy and love yourself
and just play. And I want to report back in 24 hours and see how that experiment went.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
State of being. That is our natural state, our higher self.
And the things that get in the way of that are things that we can, explore with past lives or tapping or what are the other experiences. But I actually, Terry, you already do this. We're talking all these little tiny semantics of this and that, but you're already there.
I see that too. Yeah, you're on the way.
You just need to give yourself permission to stay there because you're
just like you can't unsee Waldo. You can't stop this journey once you're on it. So
I believe so.
All the time, I can only move forward because it's true. Even if I take a step back, that's meant to propel me forward too.
And also too, back to the shoes and the boots and everything from your different lives and this life. That was a form of safety, having that type of leather shoe.
Okay.
From the moccasin to being in the wars, fire department, everything with the dark. It's like a comfort thing. Yeah.
That'll be interesting to see where that comes up, because I have a feeling you'll get hits with that. So I just want to add one more thing, and I've been thinking about this throughout the show. When people would say you need to love yourself, I didn't know what the frick they meant. I mean, it's like, right. I don't know what that means. I mean, what does that mean? You need to do self-care. Well, I mean, I don't think I do self-care. Then one day I write to connect, and one day I was writing and they explained it to me. They said, on the other side, like, I can see you and know exactly where you are and how you feel, and I can feel you and you can feel me. But on this side, we chose to come in completely cut off. So things represent love. For example, and I always use this, you may have a young girl who thinks, oh, my boyfriend's jealous. That means he loves me. Or my boyfriend hit that guy. That means he loves me. Then there are other folks that say, dude, I don't want to be around anybody like that. That's not love. That's obsession, whatever. But we don't know. Like, I can't feel your love. No matter how hard I try, I can't feel it. So I have to interpret it my way. And it's what we've learned. So here's the kicker. If that love, that warmth that you feel for your puppy, for your dog, that's already inside of you. So that's what love is to you. So what Tiffany, what Sara, what Kerry, what we all are trying to get out there is that it not to you anyway, is that it's already there. You see it, you feel it. You just have to give yourself
Permission.
To
Permission.
love yourself like that. Or
that's very interesting. It's basically learning how to just let it come out and be a part of your life instead of keeping it stuffed in the lid on all the time.
But it's time. That's why it's here.
I believe that. That's why I'm right here
doing this.
Laid out in public eye, saying the things I'm saying. So, yeah.
But it's fear too. I mean, I think that your fear, you're like sitting there getting ready to step in. You're like, no, okay, I'm going to step into who I know. And to me, I think that's what it is. I think it's more about stepping in and saying, you know what? I fly my freak flag sometimes. I think I was telling you last night, one of my children, he's at a new school. Or maybe I was telling you, I was telling somebody. And I have separated my last name on Facebook. People think I got divorced because I went back to my original name. It's like, no, I just didn't really want moms at the new school to Facebook me and say, whoa, she's videoing aliens. What's that about? And then I thought, you know what? Screw it. Either they're going to like me or they're not. Yeah. And I may as well know now. I mean, it's not a secret. So I think we all have versions of kind of wanting to let the horse run free with us and other people. But I think once you're just who you are, no editing, no filtering, life just gets so much easier. Don't you think?
You don't have to keep up with yourself.
I would think so, because to me, that's just baggage. That stuff you carry with you.
Yes, sir. But and I appreciate your journey because you are running up against this male typical stereotype. Texas. Very, yeah. I can understand why you're exploring the opposite of that. Feels so foreign and not completely validated. But we're here to say we honor and respect and appreciate your bravery and your courage and your commitment, and that it's beautiful. And to me, that makes you so much more of a man in my eyes. Somebody who's willing to do that.
I agree.
Is huge.
I had shared with Kari that if it could just at least help one other male, for
it's fine to know your
care and self-love, then let's go for it.
You're doing it.
You know who else did this? Mitch.
Yeah.
So when Mitch first came on the show, he was the fella that was struck by light.
Talking about
didn't use his name, didn't come, he wasn't on, we couldn't see him, not for us, but for everybody else. And now look at him.
And I was like, Mitch was anonymous. What?
Yeah, he was a hardcore military guy, like
right.
Emotions. Yeah, it does not play into a soldier's mind is the emotions. You're drilled out of you. And so to have this just emotional burst open was life-changing and totally disorienting and total paradigm shifts. But now he's totally, so if you're not friends with Mitch, we got to hook you up with somebody else who's been through something similar.
I remember the show that you got.
Yeah, Mitch is a trip.
Very interesting.
Well, thank you so much.
And it's wonderful meeting you.
And we want to do a follow-up show at some point. I want to find out how, where you are. We're going to do it tag him.
Yeah, how much did we fuck you up today? I'm just kidding.
Well, thank you very much, ladies. I appreciate all of your expertise. You guys are
Tag
great.
for us.
And if you want to talk, we can talk privately because I have another probably 30 minutes worth of stuff I can share with you whenever you want to.
Do you want to?
But you may get these epiphanies like in the next week.
Yeah, you probably didn't even know it, but I'm friends with you on Facebook. But
Didn't know that.
You did or didn't?
Did not. I'm so sorry that
Look
I
at
didn't
this.
recognize your name.
She's been scribbling all kinds of.
well, I don't participate really. I just lurk.
Just learned.
There.
There's something about Facebook that has just really turned me off here lately.
Some of your experiences, because it's a safe place in my Facebook group to share.
Right.
So how do people find your Facebook group?
Doing grief differently
Mm-hmm.
with Sara. And then
Right.
ericajawa.com is my website.
For any of this, for if people who are watching who this has resonated with you, Sara does readings and angel reiki and has a grief support group
I do
online.
spiritual coaching too for those who are opening up. So a little bit of everything.
Yep.
And then Tiffany with their tapping.
I do tapping at myuntappedpotential.com, and we have
Kerry?
Kerry
I
with her
just talk
shiny
about
shows.
myself. Just talk about myself.
Her spiritual journey. No, she does light language and healing and has fabulous extraterrestrial contacts and
Kerry
experience.
has a very interesting perspective on things. It's a good balance with all you guys because
Aren't we a great joy trip?
I listen to what Kerry says. I want to hear her spin a lot of times.
Yeah. That Kerry.
This
And
Kerry?
then Carrie Walker
Oh,
with
because I like to make it all
Yeah,
about
Alice
me.
Eats the Apple.
It's confusing.
And of course, Kerry and Tiffany, they got a very unique perspective also, So.
I like when we do it like this because you get 4 different sort of flavors.
Right,
But
right.
going on, I like that.
It's just been a blast, and I thank y'all very much for taking time out of your day to be with me.
Oh, thank you for coming on. I know that this is exactly what we're talking about, you working through, and here you are.
Do you feel like you love yourself just a smidge
Tiny bit
more after this
roadmap?
conversation? Or-
What I feel like is that it's like I've been given permission to entertain the thought of going down that road, but I'm not ready to start hugging myself in front of a mirror.
Well, maybe that's not what your self-love looks like. Maybe it's
Hug a tree.
No, that
Yeah.
permission slip is a huge thing.
Yeah.
So
It is.
good. Yes.
Well, it
And I might have to go out and change the oil in the car after too much self-love to get my hands dirty or something again. I don't know.
you do it with a warmth in your heart. You're doing the same stuff, but you just do it with a little bit more,
a
little bit more, just
part of it.
being present in the moment of it. Yeah.
I sing in the car. That gets me higher than anything.
I
Singing in the
walk,
car.
walking for me.
I get high in the car.
She gets
Carpool lines is getting high. What is that?
No, I just wave to the school bus as it drives by. It's my favorite part of the day.
all right. Thank
Well,
you,
Terry.
Thank you so much, Terry.
To all of you.
We love you. Bye.
Bye.
All right. How does that feel?
Interesting. Very, very thought-provoking, challenging.
Perfect.
Yeah, there's Zoe. I tell you, I felt a little like, oh goodness, I've got to. They're wanting me to love myself. Do they have any idea what they are asking of me? I'm sorry. Kerry said something.
No, I just said anything but that.
He can't hear you.
Oh, right.
Forgot. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
We need to
Yeah, anything but that, really.
Nope.
But
It's just going, nope, come on.
if you ask me what my true hunger is, probably in this lifetime, that is maybe before I take my last breath, that I will absolutely adore and love this person before I die.
Just like we do already. Yes. You already have it from out here.
No, my wife, believe it or not, this maybe we might have included this earlier if I'd have thought about it, but sometimes a person that don't love themselves real deeply can't feel loved by somebody else. And I I know that Michelle loves me, but I sometimes don't feel it real deeply, you know? So that's a struggle sometimes.
Yeah.
And also another big one I forgot to mention too, because it came up right before we even started, was the movie Frequency, which you and I watched last week.
Right. Yeah, I remember I've seen it. Yeah.
Yes, and it was about
Fireman.
him, firefighter.
Mhm.
Okay, I think Irish background,
Mhm.
right? And he communicated with his deceased father and reunited and became friends, just like you said that you've been communicating with your deceased father.
Right. That's very interesting. I really never thought about that.
Healed himself.
He healed himself and changed to another parallel life.
Healed himself,
Yep.
something like
And
that.
it's
Yeah,
a
that's
true
what I'm
story,
finding.
you know?
Again, and then see how it connects with all of this. So it's no coincidence that we watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Mhm.
That's neat.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
And thank you. And I know
right.
you need to get to Tyler.
Yeah.
Tyler.